All right, so you sent over some articles about digital health Portugal, and honestly, the minute I saw growth marketing and healthcare together, I was hooked. What was your first impression?
Yeah, no, it's interesting, right? Uh, Digital Health Portugal, we'll call them DHP. From now on, they've positioned themselves really well. Like they're at the heart of it all.
At the heart of what
Well,
exactly?
you've got this huge digital shift happening in healthcare, right?
Yeah, uh-huh.
And then you've got all these like hyper-focused growth hacking strategies popping up everywhere.
Right, right.
And then on top of that, you need more and more collaboration, especially in the EU, crossing borders and all that. DHP's right in the middle of it all. Smart.
Yeah, they've found a niche for sure. I was reading, they've already done like 10 of these impactful meetups, each one laser focused on a really specific thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, using AI to make healthcare more sustainable, or like navigating the Portuguese healthcare system, which they call the SNS. They're not afraid to dive deep into the details.
See, and that's where the whole growth marketing thing gets really interesting. You know, they're not just hosting events for the fun of it. These are launch pads, real tangible outcomes. That's the goal.
Which is probably why they've got a 75% repeat participation rate.
Exactly. People don't come back unless they're getting something out of it, right?
Makes sense to me.
And it's more than just networking. It's about building real partnerships. I read somewhere that they helped create over 20 partnerships just like that between tech companies and healthcare providers.
Wow, so they're like a matchmaking service for healthcare innovation.
You got it.
Okay, but I need specifics. What does this actually look like? Can you give me an example?
Sure. So there was this one meetup all about transforming Portugal's National Health Service, the SNS. They brought everyone together. I mean, the doctors and nurses on the front lines, the tech people with the newest solutions, even the policymakers who could actually, make changes happen.
Ambitious.
Right. And the discussions there, they led to actual actionable insights, stuff that ended up influencing actual healthcare policy. That's impact.
That's huge. So they're not just talking about change, they're actually making it happen. But what about the actual technology, the tech in health tech?
Oh, absolutely. They have this whole meetup on AI and robotics in healthcare, which is, well, the future. And they're always looking at how to use all the newest technology to be more sustainable and get better results for patients. But they're also really good at getting organizations to actually use the technology. They're making it stick.
Okay, so I'm starting to see why this is so interesting. Let's say you're a healthcare startup, right? And you've got this amazing, groundbreaking new AI diagnostic tool. DHP could be your ticket to, I don't know, the Portuguese market, the Spanish market, whole new world.
That's it. Investors, partners, customers, they can connect you with everybody. It's like a fast track to success.
Like they're holding the keys to the kingdom.
Pretty much. And even if you're not in healthcare, you can learn a lot from their approach to growth marketing. Seriously. They get the market, they find the opportunities, and they connect the right people. That's how it's done.
They're like networking ninjas.
With a strategy, though. And they're not afraid to get their hands dirty. One thing I found interesting was this whole thing about working directly with sales teams.
Oh, yeah. I remember reading about that. What's the thinking there? Why is that so important? So they're really hands-on, getting right in there with the sales teams. Why is that so important for how DHP does things?
Well, it's all about making sure those connections actually, turn into business.
Right, not just like handing out business cards and hoping for the best.
Exactly. It's not about generating leads for the sake of it. It's about making sure those leads turn into wins for everybody involved. That's what makes them different.
So less about throwing a big party and more about like targeted matchmaking with a goal in mind.
Right. They've really figured out this whole thing about working backward from what you want to achieve. Instead of, here's our event, it's, what are your goals? What are you trying to do? And then they make it happen.
Oh, I like that. Like instead of showing up with a random dish to a potluck, they're calling you up beforehand. What are you craving? We'll make it.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And because they understand healthcare so well, and they've got this incredible network, they can actually pull it off. They deliver.
It's like having a personal guide to the world of healthcare innovation. So, okay, let's say I'm a healthcare tech company. I've got this like incredible AI-powered diagnostic tool. What would DHP actually do to help me break into, say, the Portuguese market or even the Spanish market?
Well, first things first, they'd sit down with you, really figure out what you want to achieve. Are you trying to get funding? Find the perfect partner to get your product out there. Or maybe you just want to get people talking about it, build some buzz.
Right, get it in front of the right people.
Exactly. And once they've got that figured out, they use their network, their knowledge, to come up with a plan, like a step-by-step guide to get you there.
So we could be talking intros to investors, partnerships with hospitals, even navigating like the whole regulatory maze, which can be a nightmare.
Exactly. They're like your secret weapon, your guide to this whole new world. And they don't just point you in the right direction and disappear. They're right there with you, making sure things happen.
It's like having a Sherpa guiding you to the top of a mountain, but for healthcare.
I like it. And all of this is happening alongside these quarterly meetups, which are less like, casual networking events and more like summits for the movers and shakers.
Yeah. They're bringing in all the best minds to tackle the really big challenges in healthcare. And they go deep into some really specific areas.
Oh, yeah. And they're not afraid to be, like, really specific.
10 meetups already. What were some of the big themes they've covered?
Well, one that comes to mind was all about Portugal's recovery and resilience plan.
Right, that's the big economic recovery plan, right?
Right.
What does that have to do with healthcare?
So a good chunk of that money, it's going straight to digital health stuff. Telehealth, AI, the really cutting-edge stuff. DHP saw that and thought, okay, let's get the policymakers, the healthcare providers, and the innovators in the same room and figure this out.
So they're not just talking about the future, they're figuring out how to actually get there, especially with all that funding up for grabs.
Exactly. And they're always on top of the latest trends, both in Portugal and across the EU. They did one on biobanks and global health, which is blowing up right now. And get this, they even had one dedicated entirely to longevity, which, given how many people are retiring to Portugal, makes a lot of sense.
A retirement haven with like cutting-edge healthcare innovation on the side. Sounds pretty good to me. But seriously, they're not just following trends, they're shaping them.
And they're doing it in a way that gets results, which is key. It's not just about awareness, it's about action and impact.
Yeah.
That's the magic of their approach to growth marketing.
It's making a difference, that's for sure. But if they're this big in Iberia, do they have any plans to go global? Or are they happy being the kings of the Iberian Peninsula? What's the long game? So they're big in Iberia, but could they go global?
Yeah, it's a good question. Right now, it's all about Iberia, but I don't see that as a bad thing. It's more like they're laying the groundwork first.
Building that solid base.
Exactly. And honestly, it's a smart move. Iberia is like the perfect testing ground for healthcare innovation.
How so?
Well, you've got people who are really into tech, really open to new things, and the regulations there actually encourage growth, which is huge. Plus, they need these solutions. They've got their own unique healthcare challenges. If DHP can crack the code there, they can crack it anywhere.
So any company that's thinking bigger globally, DHP could be the perfect way to get started in Europe, like a stepping stone.
Absolutely. And don't forget about their network. Even if you don't need to conquer Portugal or Spain right this second, those connections could be huge later on. You never know.
That's true. It's a small world, especially in healthcare. It's all about who you know. So it's not even just about DHP in these two countries. It's about the bigger picture they're creating.
Yeah, they're not just building a model. They're building a whole ecosystem for healthcare innovation. And that's something you can take anywhere.
That's a really good point. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Digital Health Portugal, what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember? What's the takeaway here?
I think it's that Digital Health Portugal is different. They're not just another company. They're actually changing things. They're the bridge between these amazing ideas and making them actually happen,
Putting them into practice.
Yes. And they prove that if you really get growth marketing, if you really understand the field, and you're not afraid to work together, you can do incredible things. You've got to bring the right people together, the resources, and have that shared vision. That's when innovation happens.
They make it look easy. They've got the secret formula for turning what-ifs into we-did-its.
Right. Makes you think, what other industries could do this? Who else could be collaborating and innovating like this?
Now there's something to think about. Digital Health Portugal isn't just changing healthcare. They're setting a whole new standard for what's possible. A clear vision, that collaborative spirit, and that drive to make a real difference. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the possibilities. This has been The Deep Dive, your shortcut to being brilliantly informed. See you next time.